Hello everyone, Bird Lady Speaks here, coming to you guys with a quick video. In this video here, I just want to talk about some of my favorite plants, herbs, flowers to use when it comes to companion planting. So let's jump right into it. Thank you so much, guys, for stopping by my channel. If this is not your first time, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome. I hope that you do decide to join the family and save by hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and of course ringing that bell. Now, I always have to let you guys know this is a very diverse channel. I talk about all types of things on this channel. I talk about my Christian walk. I talk about my weight loss journey. I talk about my beautiful German Shepherd, my beautiful parrots, my beautiful fish, history, true crime, social commentary, Christian walk, whatever I may feel like talking about that day, that's what I'm going to talk about. So whatever the reason is that you are here, whatever brought you over to this channel, make sure you check out the playlist because there'll be more videos like this, and make sure you turn on that ding 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 notification bell so you will not miss when I post a video of your liking. But yes, if you did not see my previous video, I just did a video before and it gave you the 7 benefits of companion planting, just to give you an idea. I didn't want that video to be too long, so in this one here, I'm just going to talk to you about companion planting and some of my favorite companion planting partnerships and things that have worked for me over the years. Now, if you look up companion planting, you are going to find online where a lot of people are going to say, you know, companion planting isn't scientifically proven. But if you know, like I know, a lot of times when it comes to gardening, it's trial and error, and these are things that have worked for me. They have been proven in my garden. Like I said in my last video, what you want to do when you're researching companion planting is you can just Google, like, let's say corn companion plants or cucumber companion plants. Now you also want to look at that plant's friends and foes, because just like two plants can work together to help each other, two plants can work together to basically destroy each other. So make sure you do look up that plant's friends and foes so you'll know what to plant next to it, what to have way over here, and what to have way over here. So first I'm going to talk about my favorite companion planting partnership, and it has to be tomatoes and basil. Let me tell you how I came across companion planting. Is I was trying to do things organically, like use BT and things like that, but I didn't know about companion planting, and I didn't know that it was certain things that I was planting next to my tomatoes that was actually causing more tomato hornworms to like be attracted to it, or the moth that lays the tomato hornworms to be attracted to my tomatoes. So I started researching, and one night I went to bed one night, and then when I got up the next morning, it's like my tomato crop was decimated. Not only were the leaves gone, the fruit were eaten. I mean, I had big, huge tomatoes, and I mean, almost half of the tomato was, more than half of the tomato was eaten. Like, I'm like, what is eating it like this? And so I start researching. It was like tomato hornworms. I wear glasses, and I don't have my glasses on all the time when I'm in the garden. So when I went out, I went and got my glasses. I looked online. I saw what it might be. I went and got my glasses, and I looked, and I saw the tomato hornworm. They're very, very hard to see because they blend in so well with the leaves. But once you see them, they are very distinctive. They have a very long horn. If you don't know what they look like, here they are. They're over here somewhere. They're over here somewhere. But either way, yeah. So I started researching, and I found out, you know, if you plant basil around your tomato plants, it deters the tomato hornworms. I'm like, man. So the next season, the next year, the next season, I tried it. I planted some tomato plants on this side of the yard with no basil, tomato plants on this side of the yard with basil. And lo and behold, the tomato plants that had the basil planted around them, next to them, in between them, no tomato hornworms. Not only did they not have tomato hornworms, but they also, it was a bigger yield, and the tomatoes tasted better. I kid you not. So that is my number one tomato companion plant or herb, will be basil. I never, ever since that year, this was like maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. Well, I've been married 3 years, so yeah, it was probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and when I first discovered this. So needless to say, I never plant tomatoes without having basil around it. And ever since then, I have not had not one tomato hornworm since I've been incorporating basil. Basil isn't the only deterring the tomato hornworm, because again, insects hunt when they're laying their eggs. Oftentimes they hunt by smell, not only just the shape of the leaves. Sometimes they just look for, certain flowers, like when it comes to squash, that big yellow flower lets the squash vine borer moth know, but a lot of it is by smell. And so that smell of that basil overpowers the smell of the tomato plant. And so, like I said, for the last 6, 7, 8 years, I have not had a problem with tomato hornworms, but I used to have a problem with them every single year. They would decimate my plants. But ever since then, I have not had a problem with them. Have not. So that's tried and true. That's tested. That's something that I know works. And when I tell you the yield is better, and the tomato plants taste so much better with basil planted next to them. Another one that's really good, and another benefit is let that basil go to flower. When I tell you, it draws in so many pollinators to your tomato plants. And I think, now that I'm saying it, I think that's why you end up having a bigger yield, is because there are so many pollinators that are around it, and so more of your tomato flowers are being pollinated by the bees. Because if I have basil, let my basil go to flowers, bees are all over. I can have flowers all over my garden, but when I go over to those herbs, those flowering basil, bees are all over that flowering basil. They love it. So that creates a higher yield, I believe. Another good one, since we're talking about tomatoes, let's talk about borage. Borage is amazing. It also deters the tomato hornworm. It is an edible flower. Borage flowers taste like cucumbers. If you like the taste of cucumbers, you make a salad, put you some borage flowers in there, and they taste like cucumbers. That's one of the important things about growing your own flowers from seed. You're probably I know in my area, I can't find borage in the stores. I do have to even order the borage seeds from online, and I put a couple of places online where you can get them. My favorite places to order seeds. That borage is so tasty. It tastes just like cucumbers, but it doesn't have that acidic effect that cucumbers have. Amazing. I know it's weird when you say eating flowers, but amazing. I will do another video on edible flowers too. But borage. Carrots are really, really good to plant along the base of tomato plants. Number one, carrots they can be a little sensitive to the heat, and they can get, when it gets really hot, they can get really woody. If sun beats down on them, they can get really woody, and sometimes they can die. But if you plant them below the tomato plants, they benefit each other. The tomato plant shades out the sun from the carrots, and the carrots opens up the ground so more aeration and oxygen can get to those tomato plant roots. So that's a really good. There is even a book called Tomato Loves Carrots, and that's where I learned so much of my companion planting partnerships is from that book. I will put a link to that book in the description box as well. Now there are a lot of things. Lettuce, there are so many things that you can plant next to tomatoes, but my top two, my top three, we're going to talk about marigolds in a minute. My top three: marigolds, borage, and basil. Basil is number one. But let's jump into marigolds. Marigolds. Now marigolds, plant that around everything in your garden. Around everything. Because marigolds, mainly the French marigolds. Marigolds not only help above the ground deter pests, but it helps in the ground, because the marigold's roots has a substance or a chemical that it releases in the ground, and we have those dangerous nematodes that can be in the ground and can just destroy the roots of our plants. But those chemicals that come from the marigold roots, they actually deter nematodes. So plant marigolds around everything in your garden. The smell of the marigold plant, it deters a lot of the pests, but it also attracts pollinators. So yes, 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 yes. Now the only problem that I have had with marigolds is they seem to attract thrips too. If you don't know what thrips are, I'll put a link to what thrips are in the description box below. But the yellow marigolds seem to attract thrips. So if you have something that thrips really like cucumbers, I would advise that you use like orange marigolds, or not, just don't have the yellow marigolds around cucumbers. I still plant marigolds around cucumbers, but I have learned a lesson not to plant the yellow marigolds around cucumbers because it does attract thrips, and thrips, they will eat your cucumber flowers, and so it can actually cause a really big problem. So that's why you research. But that's a tip: if you have flowering vegetables like that, stay away from the yellow ones because they can cause thrips. So so whatever you have in your garden, leafy greens, tomatoes, cucumbers, watermelon, whatever you're planting, plant marigolds around them. You will notice that it will deter some pests. You really will notice. And I think marigolds are going to have their own individual video, so I have that coming up for you guys as well. Now another one will be onions. Onions are perfect. Again, going back to the smell, plant, what I usually do, and you can do it however you want to do, I've seen it done different ways. What I usually do is I have a row of my brassicas, cabbages, collards, broccoli, cauliflower. I will have a row of it, and then I will have a row in front and a row in the back of onions or garlic. And what that does is, it's perfect time because it's cool season. You know, onions, they do, and garlic do really well if they overwinter in the ground, and then they just explode in the springtime. It's going to deter things like aphids and the cabbage moth, the carrot fly, things of that sort. So it's really good. Like, you can interplant onions and carrots together as well, and it will actually help with the aeration of the carrots, as well as it's going to deter that cabbage fly. If you don't know what the cabbage fly is, I'll put some links for you down below. Another one that I really love is mint. Mint, again, everything pretty much boils down to the smell. The smell of mint actually deters pests as well, and it hides what they're looking for. They're looking for collards, they're looking for leafy greens, they're looking for brassicas to lay their eggs on. But that overpowering smell of the mint will actually deter them as well, and it will hide your plant. Now, I want to say again, it doesn't completely, because I still have some issues sometimes, but it's nothing like it was before I started companion planting. So I still have to use BT sometimes, especially once my brassicas and my leafy greens get a certain size, and you know, they can actually see the shape of them and can smell them. I still have to use BT sometimes, but for the most part, companion planting is my go-to, and then BT or something like that is, or something organic is my backup when companion planting, you know, doesn't, you know. But with mint, another thing I want to warn you about mint: do not plant your mint in the ground. Mint is extremely invasive. So make sure you plant it in a container. So you have a couple of containers of mint, perfect. But if you put it in the ground, it's going to take over your garden, it's going to take over your yard. Mint is extremely invasive. Yes. Another one that I would have to say as far as the flower goes would be nasturtiums. Nasturtiums, again, a lot of people like to plant them around their cucumbers because they can deter the cucumber beetle. The cucumber beetle moth does not like the smell of nasturtiums. It also is a natural, of course, repellent, and it also can keep aphids. If you have a vegetable that's really prone to aphids, you can plant nasturtiums around it, and those nasturtiums will keep the aphids off your plants. I just want to name two final flowers, and I'll kind of lump these in here together. It's going to be zinnias and sunflowers. Now, zinnias are absolutely beautiful. Well, let me talk about sunflowers first. Sunflowers are my favorite flower. They are absolutely beautiful. There are so many different varieties. of sunflowers. When it comes to sunflowers, they serve like dual, what they have several purposes. They attract the sunflowers in, they attract the pollinators in, the beneficials in, not only, you know, bees, but also hoverflies. Yes, they also attract in hoverflies. And then when you have the really tall sunflowers like the Russian mammoth, the Titan, the lemon queen, when you have sunflowers like that, they are like an open for business sign. So you can have pollinators all the way down there, way down yonder them, and they see them big old, they see those big old blooms and that big yellow flower. Then they're like, oh, let me go to this yard. So yes, and they also provide, again, a natural support or trellis, where if you have something like beans or cucumbers, you can let those beans, and that is so beautiful to me when you have beans and cucumbers growing up, you know, sunflowers. It's just the contrast of those together is just absolutely, it's aesthetically pleasing, and it actually helps you have a natural trellis. And even when that's after that sunflower dies, that stalk, like what you can use to do is just let the head go, and that stalk will still be there holding up your cucumbers and your beans. Is absolutely amazing. Talking about now, last but not least, we're going to talk about zinnias. Zinnias are absolutely beautiful. There are so many different varieties, so many different colors, so many different what do you call it? God, what do you call it? I can't talk today. So many different variations and mutations of zinnias. They are beautiful. But not only are they beautiful, they attract the pollinators and they attract the beneficials. Mainly they attract, cosmos do too, ladybugs. And we know ladybugs control the aphids. So yes, these are, so yes, zinnias, put them in your garden. But like I said in one of my videos, like I've said before, it has been scientifically proven that flowers bring happiness. So have some flowers incorporated in your garden. Have some herbs incorporated in your garden. I'm telling you guys, you will not be sorry. And research. There are so many different companion planting partnerships that work. What I'm probably going to do is just do videos on different vegetables and just talk about the companion plants that work best for them. If you guys are interested in that, let me know. You guys know I got you. I love talking about plants. But thank you so much, guys, for watching. And as usual, toodaloo. Bye-bye.